We have a great game in store for you today. The first time in the history of the Capital Classic that girls high school basketball players, the finest in the country, will be taking the court.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another riveting, fantastic edition of Redskins Relaunch. I'm your host tonight, Colvin Underwood, sitting in for Winston Hilton. Thank you so much for joining us on Facebook Live, DMVSTREAM.COM, Facebook Live. And can you feel it? It's in the air. Preseason football is right around the corner for the Burgundy and Gold as they take on the Cleveland Browns. And for you folks that live up 95, the Baltimore Ravens are going to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars in the first preseason game as well. So we have a lot to discuss. And I don't know about you, but are you ready for the season to start? This year, 2019, has just flown by, hasn't it? It's just, boom, like January 1st was like yesterday. And here we are in August, and we're going to blink, and it's going to be September, and we're going to blink again. And it's going to be the end of the season. So I don't know if we can enjoy it, but I think we'll try to enjoy it. But does preseason football do anything for you out there? Does it? Does it ring any bells? Does it get you excited? I think when I was a young person and I was a sports nut growing up, any kind of football was fantastic for me. If it was preseason, I would sit there and watch the whole thing and go through the rosters and try to figure out who's going to make the team and just be all involved. Now that I'm a little bit older and a little bit fatter and a little bit grayer, although you can't tell, I don't have time for preseason football. I don't have time for it. I feel like the players probably don't want preseason football, and I don't want to see preseason football. The Hall of Fame game was last Thursday, and I peeked at it. I had one eye. I looked at it. I'm like, okay, that's football. Football's on. So football every weekend now, between now and February. So that part is a good thing. But the first part of that sentence, or the first part of that whole thesis, is that it's preseason football first. So we have to get through the preseason games first before we get to game one, which happens the weekend of September the 8th. But that doesn't stop us from talking about it here on Redskins Relaunch. And there is quite a bit to talk about, particularly before Washington opens up their preseason opener with the Cleveland Browns. Yes, the darlings. Everybody's sexy team this year is the Cleveland Browns. So Washington gets a chance to go up to Cleveland and take on the Browns at first. And I guess this gives us a great time to kind of look at where the team is going into the preseason game and if it's really important to see some things. What do we want to see? What do we want to get out of this first game? What's the main thing that we want to see? I think I know what everybody thinks the main thing is, and we'll get there in a second. So if you're watching on Facebook Live, and I hope that you are watching, please comment, ask me questions. A little back and forth is always a good thing. So go to the comments section on Facebook Live, DMVSTREAM.COM, Facebook Live, Redskins Relaunch, and shoot me a question, and we'll talk about it. Now, I haven't been to Richmond yet. And so I'm debating whether to go. So if I'm going if I'm going as a media member, videographer, producer type kind of person, I want to do interviews and things, there's not a lot for me as a person in the media to go down and see that I can actually shoot. Because they don't let the Washington Redskins, like most teams, well, I can't say like most teams, but Washington only lets you shoot a certain percentage of the practice. So a lot of times you get to shoot some individual drills. If you've been looking at anybody's coverage, whether it be any of the local affiliates or if you on cable and you see NBC Sports Washington, because they're pretty thorough. They've got like 3 or 4 shows going on about training camp. You'll see some drills. You'll see some individual drills, but not a lot, because the team doesn't want you to shoot some of the more important things that they're doing and some of the matchups that they're having internally. So it's hard to kind of gauge what's going on as a member of the media until the cameras are turned off and then you get to watch practice like everybody else gets to watch practice. So I don't know. I'm gonna go down to Richmond for a day maybe, and just kind of mingle with the fans and just watch it as a fan and kind of observe. But I know some people that have gone down there. I followed some of the coverage and stuff, so some of the things that people are talking about. And I guess, the number one story, of course, is Trent Williams is not there. You don't know if he's going to be there. I really don't think he's going to do training camp. I really don't. I don't know. I can't say if he's not going to ever play for the team again. You hear reports like that. Don't know if the team is trying to trade him. Jay Gruden came out and said that they're not trying to trade him and that maybe this thing can be worked out. So you just don't know what to believe because Trent hasn't said anything on the record. He hasn't said anything on the record. So when Donald Penn, who is looking like he's going to be Trent's replacement, came out in the media and said he spoke to Trent about getting the job with the Redskins, and Trent said it was okay with him. I don't know if that told a lot. I don't know if he said, hey, man, just hold down the spot for me until I get back, or, hey, I'm not coming back, and you can have the position. I don't know what the conversation was, but I think that overshadows a lot of the things that are going on in training camp. So because nobody really knows what's going to happen, it's kind of hard to delve into, but it's still on everybody's mind. But the team has to move on, and they've made the best adjustments that they can make under the circumstances, particularly with the offensive line. So one part of that, of course, is who's going to be, calling the shots, so to speak, for the team going forward at the quarterback position. And we have some news with that as well. Jay Gruden made news when he brought out the who's first, second, third, the depth chart at the quarterback position. And Colt McCoy was first, and Case Keenum was second, and Dwayne Haskins was third. And I don't think anybody was shocked by that. It just kind of made sense. You had two NFL-ready quarterbacks at the top of the depth chart, and your rookie first-round pick is at the third. And so Jay says, hey, it really doesn't mean anything at this particular time. This is how I see it. Does kind of make sense. Colt has the most experience in the offense. He's been here. He's been with Jay. He kind of knows what's going on, but he's coming off an injury. Case, brand new, but Case has NFL experience and has NFL snaps, and Dwayne's learning it. He's learning it from the egg. He's learning it from the ground up. So it makes sense that Dwayne would be at the bottom of the depth chart, so to speak. But now we found out that Colt is not going to play in the first preseason game because he's just not ready coming off the injury. One thing to practice, one thing to scrimmage, one thing to play in the first preseason game. So I think it makes sense for the organization to hold him out and let him get healthier because it looks like he's going to be a major part of what goes on with the offense this year. Either he's going to be the starter or he's going to be the backup to Case, but the way it looks now, it looks like Colt probably will be the starter unless Dwayne shows that he can master the offense in 2 or 3 games or 4 games, which is going to be hard for him to do. But the good thing is, all you Haskins fans out there, all you people that are beating the drum for the kid to play, we're going to see the kid play. We're going to see the kid play. Is he going to play a half? Is he going to play a quarter? We're going to see. We're actually going to see him under center in game conditions, and we're going to see how he does. And so his reviews so far have been mixed from what I understand from people that I've talked to, people that have seen the practices. And of course, I'm just like you. I read the internet and I read the newspaper. And it's much to be expected out of a first-round pick. He's made some great throws. You see the raw ability that he has. And he's made some not so great throws. He's made throws like a rookie would make, a first-year rookie at that, that's getting his first taste of NFL experience. So we kind of figured that would be the dynamic of things going on down there in Richmond. But we're going to get to see him play. So looks like probably Case will probably get a series on Thursday against the Browns. Maybe we'll see Haskins for the first half. They want to get the fourth round. They want to get the fourth quarterback sometimes too. And his name escapes me right now because I've seen video of him, but it's just out of sight, out of mind. But he's going to get to play too because they want to make sure that he's prepared just in case there's injuries in the preseason. They want that young man to get some reps as well. So we're going to see a lot of Dwayne Haskins in games 1 and 2, knowing that the third game of the preseason is more or less a dress rehearsal. So I think probably by the third game of the preseason, we'll have a pretty good idea of who the starter is going to be. I think it's going to be Colt, just because he knows the offense. I think that gives him the advantage. I think Jay would probably feel more comfortable with Colt if Colt's healthy. If Colt's healthy, I can definitely see him being the starter week 1 and just taking it from there. Doesn't mean you're not going to see Case. Doesn't mean you're not going to see Dwayne. But I'm saying at the beginning of the season, if Colt has mastered the offense and he's comfortable in the offense and he's healthy enough, he started for the franchise before. Why wouldn't he start? And for all you folks that want to see Haskins in there, okay, you want to play the kid and the kid has earned the right to play and you think he has enough of the playbook down and you want to give him a shot, give him a shot. Let's see what he can do. But realize this will be his first NFL experience and you just don't know what you're going to get. There's going to be some on-the-job training if you put him in there to begin the season. Are you going to be prepared to be patient? Fans, can Jay really afford to play a rookie quarterback when there's so much on the line? You know, they have to probably make the playoffs. He's even said it himself. They've got to make the playoffs or he didn't even have a job. So if that's the case, you think he's going to put Dwayne in there? You think Dwayne gives them the best chance of winning the most games during the season? I don't think so. And that's not because Dwayne's not a good quarterback or is going to grow into a good quarterback, but he's going to need time to do that. He's going to need time to grow. So we'll see. But we're going to get to see him Thursday against Cleveland, and I think it's going to be pretty exciting. And the thing about it is they're going to take on a team in Cleveland that the hype train is revved up for. You're going to get a chance to see Baker Mayfield. You're going to get to see OBJ in his new uniforms. Heck, you might be able to see Kareem Hunt. Even though he's suspended, he does get to play in the preseason games. So you're going to get a taste of what Cleveland has to offer, at least in that first series, and get a glimpse and see how good they might be. One series is going to be hard to tell. And they're evaluating players too, and they're trying to build depth as well. You know, their starters are pretty good on both sides of the ball. And so they're going to be trying to look at the younger guys and see who they can plug in, just kind of like Washington as well. Although Washington, I think, has more to look at than Cleveland does. I think Washington has a lot more to look at. So one of the questions is, who are you more excited to see on Thursday, the Redskins or the Browns? I'm excited to see the Redskins. I want to see what they're going to do. Can we get anything out of this first game that people can be encouraged about? I think that's where we are with Washington. I think the fan base wants to be encouraged. The fan base wants to go into this season hopeful that the team will be decent. Because a lot of the prognosticators have Washington winning 6 games, 7 games, something like that. That's not going to be a very good season. So I think as a fan, you want more than that. You definitely want more than that. Is this an 8-win team? Is it a 9-win team? Is it a 10-win team? Can they win a division? All those questions are yet to be answered. But the first step, of course, is the first preseason game against Cleveland. So what are we going to see, and what are you looking forward to? I think one of the things I'm going to be looking forward to in the preseason is how the offensive line is going to do without Trent. Maybe the second biggest question mark on the team after the quarterbacks. How's the offensive line going to look without Trent Williams? We know so far during training camp that going against the Skins' first-team defense and even second-team defense is that the defense have had their way with the offense. That's one thing everybody has said up and down, that the defense is ahead of the offense. And you can see some of the flash and some of the sparkle in the defense that you don't see on the offense. But one thing that you're starting to hear now is you're starting to hear that maybe the offense is kind of get a little bit more cohesion. The new guys are starting to play with each other. You bring somebody in like Donald Penn, who's, a vet's vet. I mean, he's been in the league a long time, and he's the kind of guy that could be valuable on the offensive line because he just has a wealth of knowledge, and he's played at a high level before when he was with Oakland. This is a guy that has been, one of the better offensive, linemen in the league before. So this is nothing new to him. So you want to get him in the system and get him to mix with the Brandon Sheriffs and the Morgan Moses, and if some of their young guys can kind of come together on the offensive line and see if you could do. So you want to see how good the offensive line does. And I think the other part of the offense that we want to see, because I think all the question marks are definitely on the offense. I think the defense is going to be pretty set. I think we're going to find out, how good the defense is, and just we're looking for depth on the defense. We're going to look at some of the backups and some of the guys that were maybe hurt last year, like the Troy Apkeys and people like that, and see how they do in the defensive scheme. But I think the biggest question, I think anybody that follows the team would agree, is on offense. So we have question mark at quarterback. We have question mark on the offensive line. And now you have another question mark on the receivers. But from what I've been gathering from talking to people that's been at training camp and talking and looking at on the internet and looking in the newspapers and things about what's going on in Richmond, one of the more encouraging signs is the play of the wide receivers. A lot of people are talking about how good the new kid, Trey McLaren, looks, and very impressive with his speed and able to make plays. Josh Dotson, yes, Josh Dotson has gotten some reviews as well. See, he's kind of bounced back after having some not so great years, that he's finally healthy and he's able to produce. A lot of people are talking about Kelvin Harmon, who was one of their picks out of North Carolina, and how he's flashed some ability and how people are kind of excited about him down there. Somebody that could maybe be one of those 6 receivers that makes the team and be able to contribute. Nice to have Paul Richardson Jr. back. He's the speed guy. He had a shoulder injury last year, and so he's looking good. Trey Quinn, Mr. Irrelevant from the draft 2 years ago. That means he was the last player picked, of course, in the draft. Has pretty much nailed down the slot receiver from everything that I'm reading. Here's a guy as the 7th round pick, last pick in the draft, and he's going to be a slot receiver for Washington. And the slot receiver is so important in today's NFL offenses. It's that guy that gets you the 3rd down. It's that guy that can get separation and make plays and help you move the chains. And so they're looking at Trey Quinn not only in that role, but even in the special teams as a punt returner to show some flash there as well. So he's kind of emerged in the preseason. So, and I forgot about one of the bigger stories in training camp is Cam Sims. Remember Cam Sims was part of that Alabama Mafia that the Washington Redskins have on their team? All these cats that are, from Alabama. So he was undrafted, of course, and he flashed last year in preseason, but got hurt. Put him on the practice squad, comes back fully healthy, and he's really turning heads in Richmond. A lot of people are talking about Cam Sims and want to see if he's a person that can emerge during the preseason and be an offensive weapon for whoever the quarterback is going to be for Washington. So that's just a little quick glimpse of what we know so far about the preseason, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. And there's other stories as well, and we'll touch on those in a minute. So we're going to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. I am Colvin Underwood, sitting in for Winston Hilton. This is Redskins Relaunch, Facebook Live, DMVSTREAM.COM, and we'll be right back.
This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. a member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry. This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry. This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry. This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry. This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry.
Welcome back, everybody, to another fabulous Wednesday. Redskins Relaunch, DMVSTREAM.COM, Facebook Live. I'm Coven Underwood, sitting in for Winston Hilton tonight. And we are talking about the preseason opener Thursday. Washington travels up and take on the Cleveland Browns. Are you excited? Are you ready? Preseason football getting underway in the DMV. I don't know. I guess I'm pretty excited. I just want to see what's going to happen. I guess it's hard to say. The expectation should be high for Washington. They should be a better football team, regardless of who the quarterback's going to be. I think they've upgraded. It seems like to me that they've upgraded all over. Of course, not having Trent there is a big minus on offense. But you can only, the coaches and players will tell you as you look across the league, Trent's not the only person that's not in camp. There's Ezekiel Elliott down in Dallas. There's Melvin Gordon out in San Diego. And if you ask the coaches and players on those teams as well as Washington, they will let you know that you have to roll with what you got. And you'll be worried about the guys that are in camp. And so we touched on a little bit in the first segment. Who are some of the guys that have been standouts in camp? And there was one guy, when we talked about the receiving core, we talked about the guys on the outside. We talked about the wide receivers. But maybe the most impressive receiver so far in Richmond has been Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed, remember him? All-pro tight end, one of the best in the business when healthy. Game changer. Gets open, moves the chains, makes plays, hard to be covered by safeties and linebackers. That Jordan Reed. When he's on, probably one of the top 5 tight ends in the NFL. When he's not, he's very average. But injuries are a part of the game. And so it's been hard for Jordan to stay healthy. But the word out of Richmond is he's very healthy, and he looks good, and he's making plays. And what he would mean to Washington's offense is immeasurable. Anybody in the NFL that has a halfway decent offense can look at the play at the tight end position and point to there and say, hey, that's one reason we can move the football. Our tight end is excellent. And so Washington needs that, particularly if you're not really sure what's going on in your quarterback position. A great tight end play makes any of the quarterbacks look well. Great tight end play is like a security blanket for your offense. And how nice would it be if Jordan Reed round back into shape, so to speak, and was that force that he was when RG was here. Remember, they used to hook up a lot, and they were pretty, formidable punch, 1-2 punch for the Washington offense. So Jordan Reed has been turning heads in Richmond, and let's just hope that he can keep it going. Let's hope that he can stay healthy and be a contributor, because he's going to be an important piece to the offensive puzzle. You have so many question marks on the offense. You want to have something to hang your hat on, and why not Jordan Reed? And another young man who's impressed in Richmond on the defensive side of the ball. We've kind of been talking about the offense. I just think some of the more intriguing question marks on the football team are on the offense. But on the defensive side of the ball, people are still talking about Jimmy Moreland. Jimmy Moreland, late round pick from James Madison University. The guy was everything at James Madison. He could do it all. He made plays. He played on special teams. He made interceptions. He's one player of the year, defensive player of the year in the CAA. I mean, he did it all. And he's carried on that not only in training camp, but even in the camps before training camp, he was making plays. And that's still happening. And so a lot of people want to know, is it possible that he maybe can crack the starting lineup? Don't know. But if he's making plays like this, in training camp, I think he's a guy that you want on the field defensively, because he can make plays. He can be disruptive on defense. He's proven to be a good cover guy. Now, it's going to be one thing to see what he does in live action. So he's going to be another person probably on Thursday that you want to take a look at and see how well he competes and how well he does, in live action. And remember, he's not going to be going against the first teamers of the teams that he plays. He's going to be going against the second, third, and fourth teamers from different teams. So you have to consider that as well. But if he improves against them, then when the regular season starts, I don't think the coaching staff is going to hesitate to put him in there, because it doesn't seem like the moment's too big for the young man. Seems like he's right at home, on the NFL level. So sometimes we can't get caught up in where a guy's drafted. So how many guys have we seen drafted in the premium picks 1, 2, 3 in the first 3 rounds that never panned out? How many guys have we seen drafted in, particularly lately now, because those late round picks are so valuable for teams? That's how they build their depth. You don't pay those guys a whole heck of a lot of money. And then, if they hit and they contribute to your team, you have them under contract, and, you're not paying a lot of money. You get a lot of productivity out of them. So we've seen a lot of guys that are 4th round picks, 5th round picks, 6th round picks, 7th round picks that make it in the league. So it's not a surprise anymore to see late round picks that make it. And it looks like Jimmy Moreland might be one of those guys that makes it and sticks and can actually contribute to I think, definitely the strength of the team, which is the defense. And another guy who has impressed at training camp, you hear people raving about, is Montez Sweat. Now, we know Montez got kicked in the calf last week in one of the practice sessions, so he's been out. So I'm not sure what his status is going to be for the first preseason game. I'm sure they're going to want to bring him along and make sure that he's healthy. But one thing that you hear about Montez Sweat is he gets off the ball. His quickness and his strength have been impressive in preseason, particularly going through drills. And, you hear that he's wearing out the offensive tackles and the guards for Washington in preseason. He's wearing them out. And that's, Sweat was one of the top moves, I think, that they made in the draft. It was just a sharp move to get him because he's a first-round talent that slid because of the health concerns about his heart. So far, so good on the health thing. You get kicked in the calf. That happens. You play football. It's always something like that. It's kind of crazy. So Montez Sweat's going to provide a lot of depth to what's already the strength of the team, which is the D-line. Him and Ryan Kerrigan, you can see it in pass rush situations, 3rd and long. You got Sweat on one side. You got Ryan Kerrigan on the other side. You got them animals up front that can get after it. The Paynes, the Allens, the Ionidases, and man, there's just that front. That is something that you're going to want to see in the preseason and in the regular season. You want to see Washington's front because they get after it. And we're not even talking about Tim Settle, another guy who's impressed quite a bit in training camp from what you hear from the reports that you read and the people that you talk to. The young man went to Stonewall Jackson High School in Northern Virginia, in Manassas, and he brings a lot of heat. And when these guys has gotten better, a lot of people say he's better than he was last year. He's really, probably in a little bit of better shape. And he's very disruptive in that defensive line. So, you got to rotate these guys in. You got to rotate the Paynes and the Allens and the Settles and the Sweats. You got to rotate those guys in and keep your guys fresh. So when you get to the 4th quarter in these games, those guys are bringing some heat. So that's something else that you might want to take a look at too. You might want to take a look at that defensive line and see how they're going to do. And of course on defense, I think one of the bigger question marks is linebackers. Who's going to emerge in the linebacking core, particularly in the middle? No Mason Foster anymore. Who's going to step up there? Another name that you might want to take a look at, somebody who's quietly having a good training camp, is Ryan Anderson, another part of that Alabama mob that Washington has, and see if he can emerge on the outside and kind of be the impact guy that they thought they were getting when they drafted him. And then in defensive secondary, you know about Landon Collins, you know about Josh on the outside. You know what he can do. But you want to see if the young guys, the Quentin Dunbars and the Morelands and the Troy Apkeys, another guy that they drafted, was a late round pick, see if he can stay healthy and be a contributor back there in the safety position. So the Washington defense, they're looking for depth. They're looking for guys who are going to provide depth and be backups. So if somebody goes down the front line, they have somebody, the Fabian Moreaus, people like that, who can come in and step in and play. So we're going to look at the depth on defense and see if anybody emerges and can get into those positions where they can see some time in the future. So that's just a quick look at training camp for the Skins, and we'll see what happens against Cleveland. I don't know how much stock you can put into the first preseason game. You're going to see a lot of young guys, a lot of young players, a lot of undrafted guys, a lot of late round picks, a lot of the backups. You're going to see a lot of those guys. You've got to want to get familiar with those guys because you're going to see a lot of those guys in that first couple preseason games as they try to whittle it down to who's going to make the team by that first game against Philly in September. So we're going to come back. We'll take another quick break. Redskins Relaunch. I'm Colvin Underwood. It's DMVSTREAM.COM, Facebook Live, and we'll be right back.
Good evening, lacrosse fans, and welcome to Westfield High School.
We have a great game in store for you today. The first time in the history of the Capital Classic that girls high school basketball players, the finest in the country, will be taking the court.
evening, lacrosse fans, and welcome to Westfield High School.
We have a great game in store for you today. The first time in the history of the Capital Classic that girls high school basketball players, the finest in the country, will be taking the court.
This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Redskins Relaunch. I'm your host, Colvin Underwood, sitting in for Winston Hilton, and we've been talking about preseason football coming up Thursday as Washington travels to Cleveland to take on the Browns, and kind of what we've seen and heard coming out of Richmond for these first couple of weeks of training camp. And one thing that I was encouraged to see was Alex Smith. Alex Smith was there on crutches, still had a bandage on his leg, on his injured leg, but it was good to see Alex there. And I think from what you've been seeing and reading, I think the team is glad to have Alex there. That injury last year was so gruesome, but you know, he had the halo taken off of his leg that stabilized his leg, and he's moving around a little bit, and he wants to come back. He wants to come back and play. And I think one thing that can really help the maturity of Dwayne Haskins is being around a pro like Alex Smith. I mean, Alex Smith is the quarterback's quarterback. And I always thought that, you know, I'm not one for rushing young Mr. Haskins. I think it's going to be important that the team is able to bring him along reasonably. I see value in him not playing this year. And a lot of people want him to play because they want him to play and he's the 15th pick and things of that nature. But remember, he's only had one full year of college football. Now, he ripped it up at Ohio State. And the Big Ten's a pretty good conference, but it's not the National Football League. And the complexities of offenses and verbiage and just knowing what you see on the field can mess with your mind, particularly if you're a young quarterback. So you look at somebody like Kyler Murray. So Kyler Murray's situation's different. Okay? Of course, he won the Heisman with Oklahoma. But he's going into a system that was pretty much the same system that he ran in Oklahoma. Very similar. He's going with a coach that's familiar with his abilities. So Cliff Kingsbury can make an offense that fits Kyler Murray's strengths. So Kyler Murray has their leg up on most rookie quarterbacks coming in first year expected to play. Now, I'm not saying Kyler Murray has to be the game one starter in Arizona. I wouldn't be surprised if he was. But when he gets in during the season, he's going to be set up to succeed a little bit better because he's going to be a little bit more familiar. Now, for a rookie quarterback, they're still going to have to kind of figure out the nuances of NFL defenses. He's got to figure it out. Just like Haskins is going to have to figure it out. But Dwayne you think about this, and this was I saw this in an article in the Post, so I'll give the Post their pub, right? There's nothing wrong with Haskins not playing, and look who he has to lean on. He's in the quarterback room with Colt McCoy, NFL veteran quarterback. Case Keenum, NFL veteran quarterback. His head coach was a quarterback. Although it was in the Arena League, it was still a quarterback. His GM, Doug Williams, was a mighty fine quarterback. And he's got Alex Smith, who's been an all-pro quarterback as well. So all that knowledge is going to help Dwayne Haskins down the road. It's going to really help. It's going to help mold him. So I know everybody wants to see Dwayne play. I like to see him play too. But here's to Dwayne not playing and soaking up the knowledge from all those people around him. And so if he's able to play when he's ready to play, give him the keys to the castle. So the next training camp that comes in, he's the number one guy. He gets the first rep. He gets the reps with all the first teamers. Then you're putting in an offense that he understands that plays to his strengths, and you're giving the kid a chance to succeed. Just a thought. Just a thought. So good to see Alex Smith. Hopefully he gets to sit down with Dwayne, and Dwayne gets to pick his brain, and he can kind of mentor the young man and get him ready mentally. Physically, we know Haskins got the goods. He's got the height, the size, the arm strength. Everybody says that. You know, Josh Norman came out and said, you know, the kid's got a big arm and he can do things, physical things. It's very physically impressive. But we all know that, you know, football is a thinking man's sport, and you have to have that knowledge to know what to do, when the circumstance comes, and how to read defenses and things like that. And I think Dwayne will get there. It's just a matter of time. You know, does the organization feel that they need to rush him because he's the 15th pick? Does the organization feel that, you know, sitting is a good thing? We don't know. We'll have to see. But I just hope they don't rush the young man. And if the season goes down the tank and doesn't like they're going to make the playoffs, and you want to give him some reps, and you want to see what you got, and you want to see if you can build around the young man, throw him in there. Throw him in there. You know, just like they did Josh Rosen, just like they did Sam Darnold. You know, throw those guys, throw them in there, and let them sink or swim. And you know, if he's able to get enough games under his belt, you know, maybe that will aid him going into next year. So I really don't see there's a right or wrong answer on the Haskins question. Like I said, it's great to see Alex Smith back in the building, and hopefully he can bring some positivity to the situation, and he can help mentor the young man and get him to where the organization wants him to be. So we got other things going on. We're at that spot in the schedule where baseball hasn't got around the corner towards the end, but we're starting to see some teams emerge. We're starting to see what's going to happen, how the baseball season is going to take shape. And the Nationals, who started off miserably, have really turned it around and got back into the thick of things. They were 6 games out of first place against Atlanta, and they had a couple of chances to beat the Braves in the last 2 series that they had. They weren't quite able to get it done. They made some moves at the trade deadline to bolster their bullpen, which they desperately needed to do because the guys they had just weren't cutting it. And they let some of those guys go, like the Tony Sips, and they let him go. They give him his release, and Rosenthal's not there. And, you know, they got these new guys coming in. So we'll have to just see how the Nationals finish down the stretch. You have to like their starting pitching. And it's just kind of funny. We knew that starting pitching was going to be the strength of the team. You know, we knew they had 4 guys that they could trot out there that were, you know, you felt good about. And it just so happens that the season's been just kind of, at first, everybody struggled but Patrick Corbin. And Patrick Corbin kept them kind of their head above water because Anibal Sanchez wasn't pitching very well, and Scherzer he was okay, and Strasburg was okay. And then Strasburg came on, and he kind of carried it. He kept the team afloat while they still weren't playing too great. And then Scherzer was lights out. And the team starts making their move, and everything's looking great. And then all of a sudden, Scherzer goes down, and now Anibal Sanchez, the last several starts, has been, you know, it's given them, you know, 5, 6, 7 innings of solid starting pitching. And so you feel good about starters 1 through 4 for Washington. You feel good about those guys because when one guy falters, it looks like another guy's going to step up. Got to have Scherzer. Off the IL. You don't want your power pitcher to have a sore back or a bum back. And it looks like that's what's happening with Scherzer. But we know one thing about Scherzer. If there's a will, there's a way. And if he's halfway decently healthy, he's going to go out and pitch, and he's going to pitch his guts out. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the Nationals finish the season. One reason they got back into the race was they were able to beat the teams that they needed to beat. So the teams that had really bad records, they did a great job of beating those teams, and that really bolstered them. They've shown that they could play with the Dodgers. They've shown that they could play with the Braves. So you feel good about that. It's not the Braves aren't, demonstrably that much better than Washington, but it's just the Braves haven't lost. The Braves haven't had that, out of 10 games win 2 games, or out of 15 games win 5 games. They haven't had any streaks like that. So when Washington wins, it looks like Atlanta wins. So Washington just got through sweeping the San Francisco Giants, and you think, oh man, you got 3 games. And what does Atlanta do? Atlanta takes 2 out of 3 from Minnesota, which is one of the best teams in the American League. So it's going to be a dogfight. I like to see them try to get up there and get that division, wrestle that division lead away from Atlanta. But if not, they're in the thick of the things. They're in the thick of it, of the wild card race. And it's interesting. Would it be juicy if it came down to Washington and Philadelphia? Oh my goodness. Washington and Philadelphia in the wild card. 1 game, playoff. Hopefully here. And your boy, Shaggy Dude, with the, that dude that used to play in Nats Park, that plays up the road at Citizens Park. How would you like to have him back in town for a 1-game playoff, and a healthy Scherzer or Strasburg taking on that bunch from Philadelphia? I don't know. They're all bunched in there together along with the Cardinals, and the Cardinals have been playing pretty good ball lately too. And the Cardinals and the Nationals have some history as well. So Major League Baseball is heating up. It's about the time of the year that I'll start peeking a little bit more into Major League Baseball as we get closer to the postseason. And it's always good when your team is there, and in the mix of things. And Washington's definitely in the mix of things. And we'll just see if the bullpen can hold up. We'll see if the starters 1 through 4 can hold up. We'll see if the Eric Fetties or the Joe Rosses can step in there and be a quality 5th starter for them, so you're not losing anything on that 5th start. And we'll just roll it out, man, and see how it goes. It's going to be pretty exciting to see what the Nationals do down the stretch. Something else that happened that got a lot of run locally here in the DMV, John Wall. John Wall had his annual backpack giveaway that he does for the local students, a great charity that John's been doing ever since he got to Washington. And it was the first time that the media got a chance to kind of talk to John in depth after the Achilles surgery, and he's done some Achilles rehab, and he's just starting to be able to walk again and starting to do practice. So I don't know if you've seen some of the Instagram photos or Twitter or whatever on social media. He looks like a beast. He's beasting, right? He's putting it in as much work as he can do to get back. Now, he said he doesn't think he's going to be able to play this season, and I hope that they don't try to rush him back. Even if he thinks he's ready and he gets the green light, let him sit for a year. It's an Achilles, and you just don't want to mess with that. Let him have the year off. Take your lumps this year, Washington Wizards. But the thing about Wall and his comments to the media I thought were very interesting is one of the things that he said that I wanted to talk about real quick was that he wanted to prove to everyone that he earned the Supermax deal. And he's going to paraphrase, he's going to try to prove these people wrong in talking about him and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, look, he doesn't have anything to prove to anybody. John Wall has come in this league and did his thing at a high level, and he was one of the reasons that any success that the Wizards had was because of him. He doesn't hurt his wrist against Atlanta. They probably win that series. He's been a competitor. He's been a good dude. He's been at the highest level. I think he's one of the best point guards in the game when healthy. And he earned the money. Now, they had a chance. They didn't want to give him the money. All they do is trade him. You don't think people want to trade for John Wall? Now, I know the flip side of that. Oh, nobody's going to want to trade for him now. He's making $40-some-odd million a year. But guess what? By the time his contract runs out in that third or fourth year, when he gets in those huge back-end numbers, there's other guys in the league that are going to be making those back-end numbers too. You know, the NBA prints money. They print it. Like the old printing press, they print money. So contracts are movable. Contracts are movable. If you got a team that thinks they need that player, and that player is a proven player, contracts are movable. Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul. Contracts are movable. They'll find a way. So we just don't know how this is going to play out. But I didn't think Wall's motivation to get back shouldn't be to prove people wrong. It's just to get back to play and get back to the team to be competitive. Because probably for the next couple of years, they're not going to be competitive. And so Bradley Beal has this max money deal out there, 3 years, $111 million. 3 years, $111 million. Whew. Mega money. So he has to decide if he wants to take that deal or not. He has to decide if he wants to be in for another rebuild. I had a chance to go to that press conference when Ted Leonsis talked about the reorganization of the team and what it means. He brings in Sashi Brown, who's an NFL guy. He brings in John Thompson III for like a player development kind of coach, like life skills kind of coach. Mike Tebow, the general manager and the coach of the Washington Mystics, is going to have a greater role. And so Ted Leonsis is bringing analytics guys, and Tommy Shepard gets the GM job, and who was the former interim GM. And it's just this whole facelift for the Wizards that they believe is going to put them on the track to be successful down the line. Now, that's saying a lot because Wizards haven't been successful continuously for many years. It's always 3 years here, 4 years, a year not making the playoffs, then make the playoffs, then not make the playoffs, then somebody gets hurt, then it's a bad deal, or paying too much money, and it's always something, right? So now the organization feels that they're on the right track. So we'll see. We'll see if John continues his rehab and it goes well. We'll see if Brad wants to stay. We'll see if we'll ever see Beal and Wall together again. Wall seems to believe that Beal will be here, and he's made it clear that he wants to succeed with Bradley in Washington, and they have some unfinished business to do. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Other quick news, Wayne Rooney's leaving. He's going back to England to be a player coach, and he wasn't here long, but it was very exciting, wasn't it? All my DC United fans out there. They're in the playoff hunt in the Eastern Conference in MLS, and he brought a lot of excitement and a lot of play. And just, it's amazing. Here's Wayne Rooney. Was he 36? I think Wayne Rooney's 36 years old, and his skill level is through the roof. Through the roof. He steps on the pitch for DC United and just changes the fortune of the team and has put them hopefully back on the right track to have an end to the successful season this year and kind of give them some momentum going into the years to follow. So Wayne Rooney had a very short time, but a very impactful time, and there's still got playoffs to be played, and he's still going to be with the team till the end of the regular season. So we wish Wayne Rooney all the best, and he proved to be what the team thought he would be. He put people in the stands. He helped them win, and his skill level was still such that he's still an elite player at an advanced age that he was able to lift the team, and he definitely made the team better when he played. So we say goodbye to Ray Rooney, and the Mystics are doing well, one of the best teams in WNBA. If you haven't had a chance to check out the Mystics, check them out. Been down to the Entertainment and Sports Arena down in Southeast. It's a great venue for basketball. Gives the team a true home court advantage that they've lacked for years. Just playing at Cap One was just too big. The place was too big, and they just couldn't pack the place out. So now they have a really great home court advantage. And with the playoffs rolling around, they're going to be a tough out. They're going to be a very tough out. Elena Deladon is, looking at an MVP kind of season. Christy Tolliver, the former Maryland standout, is just awesome. And Tasha Cloud. They are really a fun bunch to watch. Have a lot of depth. Get up and down the court. They play D. They do everything. They are one of the best teams in the WNBA. So if you haven't had a chance to check them out, check them out. Headed towards the playoffs, and hopefully they'll have some home court advantage games here in the DMV. Check them out. They're a lot of fun, and you can always see me there. I'll be checking them out as well and then covering those guys. And so if you have a chance, go to my website, DMVSTREAM.COM. We'll have some stuff on training camp, and we have some high school football previews will be coming up. And we'll also try to get out to University of Maryland and Howard and Navy and do a little bit more college football. We'll try to expand our horizons at DMVSports1.com. So thank you so much for joining us on Redskins Relaunch. I want to thank my man Winston Hilton for letting me sit in and pontificate in his chair and talk about the Redskins with you guys in training camp and preseason football and all that good stuff. So check it out and just see what happens, you guys. Just see what's going to happen and see, if you can get excited about the burgundy and gold and see how this thing's going to start. So we look at it now, we might be like, we didn't know we were going to have a successful season. We knew they were going to stink. It's somewhere in between, right? So we just don't know what's going to happen. So thanks again for watching Redskins Relaunch, DMVSTREAM.COM, Facebook Live. We will see you next Wednesday. Take care. Take it easy.
This content is brought to you by Dental Associates. For more than 39 years, Dr. Stephen Price has been practicing dentistry in Northern Virginia. A member of the American Dental Association, the Northern Virginia Dental Society, and the Virginia Dental Society, Price is considered an expert in Invisalign and continues to be an award-winning innovator in the industry.